Awesome. My name is Kat Traxler, and I'm not just presenting on ransomware, I'm presenting on the drama of ransomware. When putting this presentation together, I thought, what a dry, awful hub presentation this would be about like the technical aspects of compromise and like how encryption works and how exfiltration works, and like nobody is going to want to sit through this, but they might actually want to sit through all of the hot goss. So that's what we're going to do today. How does this work? Okay. My qualifications: I am a cybersecurity professional. I've done pen testing, security architecture, security engineering. I'm currently a security researcher focusing on identifying 0 days in the public cloud. If you scan that, that's my link tree. But as you'll notice throughout this presentation, it really has nothing to do with pen testing, security architecture, security engineering, or a little research. But honestly, this is just intel, a fancy word for the bros of the industry to just talk about like gossip. It's the gossip of our industry. It's the fun hot goss that still takes place on the platform formerly known as Twitter. So what do I do most of the day? I hang out on Twitter. So ransomware is filled with double crossing. It's filled with this MLM style of business where, believe it or not, people are not always trustworthy. And people are hacking each other. They're getting kind of like stick up their asses, and they're like double crossing each other, and they're going to different gangs, and they're releasing information on the internet, and it's a really fun show to watch. So I'm going to just give you some quick background first on like what is ransomware, especially like what is the business model, who are the actors involved, and who are the customers. That's actually formally what the victims are called. And I'll apologize in advance for being a little like tongue-in-cheek or a little maybe like crass, but this is just my industry, and we whistle past the graveyard a lot. This is not me not completely acknowledging the real victims in this industry. It's just when you live in a swamp all day long, you have to be a little lighthearted, and that's this presentation. So we're first going to talk about the business model. And then we're going to move into the betrayals, the scandals, and then who was caught as a double agent recently. And then finally, if you too want to tune into this very cool show called the Ransomware Hot Goss, I will let you know who to follow on Twitter. Yes, it does involve getting on that platform, and then maybe a couple blogs to follow where you can just tune in and get your kicks in. So first off, ransomware, it's just a form of digital extortion, really. It's the criminals holding your digital property and extorting that for money. It's a situation where they're going to lock you out of your assets and then hold that for ransom. Think of it as just a demand for giving you back access. It's most certainly on the rise. Over the past few years, they've seen a 140% increase year after year after year. People who track this for a living see many affiliates and operators retire every year. So they might get in the game for a year or two or three, make 5, 10, 15 million, and then retire. So it's a very, very, very profitable business. And on average, about a fourth of the people who report an incident report that they have paid. I really am really skeptical of this statistic. That requires a lot of reporting. That's just not happening.
Thank you.
So who's all involved? Like I said, there's this like multi-level marketing situation going on. It's absolutely what would always happen in where you have an economy of specialization, right? You have an economy of specialization where everybody's going to do and specialize in what they're doing the best. So you have the big chiefs, the operators. They create the malicious software. They host the platforms to do payments. They have support teams. Or you can like chat with the support teams about your decryption. Once you've paid and you get the key, you're having trouble recovering your data, they'll have support manuals to help you. They have the infrastructure that's really needed. They'll maintain the software, make sure it's good quality software. These are like the big families. There's usually maybe a dozen to 2 dozen operating at any given time. Then under them, in this MLM style, there's the affiliates. They're the folks actually executing the attacks. And they're a little bit more like fly-by-nighty. There can be, just one random kid in Essex who's an affiliate. Or there can be like a group of like 20 people in Belarus who are an affiliate. And they're going to contract with the operators to use their strain of ransomware, but then to use their platform to negotiate payments. And typically the split is like 80 to 90% goes to the affiliates, and just the operators get a little kickback to use their platform. Sometimes it's a monthly fee, but usually it's a percentage of their pay. Then there's a specialized group called the initial access brokers, and this is where my job plays in a little bit. The initial access brokers are people who just find 0 days and passwords. So all the people who are gathering up valid credentials, all the people who are finding new ways to get into systems, they just gather those up, hoard them, and sell them to the initial access brokers, because they need that way in. But that's a specialized thing. So initial access brokers will just do that and sell to the affiliates. Okay, so we have the operators who work under the affiliates, and then we have the initial access brokers who kind of like feed into that. What do? They extort people, the customers. They have customers. The customers can be incentivized to pay money through one of 3 ways. The first is extortion through encryption of data. We're going to lock you out of your data. You're not going to be able to see it. That's the single extortion method. Double extortion method is we're going to lock you out of your data, we're going to prevent you from using it, and we're also going to exfiltrate it back, and we're going to threaten to publish it on some leak sites. So if maybe by chance you recover your data, we can also threaten to publish it. And then finally, we're seeing some gangs now do some DDoS attacks, so maybe take down more systems just by flooding your systems. So there's potentially 3 different ways that they can really entice their customers to pay up. So who are these customers? We have targets, which are often really high impact sectors. Manufacturing is huge. I don't know if anybody heard the Jaguar hack recently. This one's massive. This one's gonna hit the UK GDP, like actually gonna measurably hit UK GDP this year. Their production lines were down for like 6 weeks. Massive attack. So these companies that rely on a production line, if you can hit the production line, that's going to absolutely stop profits dead in its tracks. So that's really highlighted. Sadly, also they love hitting hospitals. They love hitting hospitals. They love hitting anything where it's going to be high profile. Anything that's going to be high impact to the profits. Not as much targeted as like services. So like if you're a law office maybe and you're locked out of your files, it might be tough, but you're still seeing clients. Like it's not as direct as an impact as it would be like a production line. So the customers are targets. Targets will often have insurance companies, which will then facilitate payments. They're going to be the ones who are going to often be the payers. And that's the big problem with the situation that happened with Jaguar, is because during the attack, during the incident, they were not cyber insured. If they were cyber insured, they would have been up and running in days. And I think at 6 weeks, they were thinking about maybe getting their lines back. So massively important is the insurance companies. And then the responders. Insurance companies will pay for the responders to come in, assess the damage, understand how bad is it, can we recover without talking to these people, can we slow roll the negotiations. Responders will bring in negotiators, so guys who are like seasoned to talk to the ransomware actors and say like, okay, you're asking for 10 mil, but like we can't do 10, how about 2? And they'll just like start like negotiating down from there. They're also like asked for proof of extortion, so like you said you extorted like all of our customer base, give us some proof, like we need some proof. So there's the negotiators. This whole process is a massive sector of cybersecurity just dealing with ransomware. Okay, now you have your backstory. Let's talk about the fragile egos involved and all of the drama. Okay, the double crossing.
This is what I'm here for.
Okay, our first case study, the book Double Cross, 2021. This was a huge one because it spawned many more operators. Remember those operators are those like top level people who maintain the software? In 2021, on one of the forums, a guy got on and said he was one of the main founders of Baduk in Russia. He said he had a terminal illness and he was going to leak all of the source code. He was going to leak all of the application, the whole encryptor, all of the decryption keys. So if you're currently suffering from this ransomware, you got out of jail, get out of jail free card because he just published the decryption key. He went on a ransomware forum and he just like dumped it all, and it caused mass chaos. Obviously, this operator, this Baduk operator crumbled, but it spawned like 10 more because it was great ransomware. It was fantastic, and everybody said, "I'm going to take this, give my little sprinkle to it," and like it enabled so many more operators. And this incident in 2021 then spawned Revel, it spawned Conti, so we can actually trace back by examining the samples of the applications, these lineages and these families of where maybe it started. And a lot of it started with this double cross from this kid who claimed he had terminal cancer and just wanted to give a big, fuck you before he left. I don't know. Okay, this probably hits home for a lot of people, especially being in Minnesota and all. The UHG change.org situation that happened, that happened last year. This was a Black Hat affiliate called, Fronti. This is a Black Hat affiliate. And as I mentioned, the situation with the operators is they maintain the platform and they have all these affiliates that actually execute the attacks. And generally, the affiliates take the majority of the payments. But the operators maintain the platforms for ingesting the payments. But they get a $22 million payment, and Black Cat was like, "This is nice. This is a lot of money. I'm gonna go to the Bahamas." So they just shut down. Black Hat, they were not as trustworthy as you can imagine a ransomware operator to be. They just took the $22 million, did not give Nachi anything, and then they tried to fake out everybody, and they put up a fake FBI seize notice on their leak site, pretending that they were seized by the FBI. And everybody was like, "Guys, you're not fooling anybody." And then Nachi was pissed, and so they went to a rival affiliate, Dragon Force, who runs Ransomware Hub, and was like, "Hey, can I post on your leak site the data?" Because they had the double extortion. They also extorted some data. So like, well, we still have something. We can still try to get something. And they didn't get anything, and they posted it on Ransomware Hub. So Nachi got shit. And Black Cat's ghosts. They're in the Caymans or something. This was a huge fallout from Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and there's a lot of intertwining ties between the conflict in Ukraine and ransomware, surprise, surprise. If you haven't noticed, most of this activity takes place in Russia, Belarus, Ukraine. This is mainly Eastern European stuff. And what happened was in 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Conti, a major ransomware operator, posted on their platform their full-throated support of Russia. We fully support Russia for liberating the homeland, something like that. And what happened was one of the guys deep in Conti revealed himself as a Ukrainian mole. A Ukrainian software developer had infiltrated Conti and said, like, okay, enough's enough, guys. Like, I'm revealing myself as a mole of Conti, and I'm also going to dump all of your internal documents. So this guy dumped all of Conti's internal documents to actually sent it to UX Underground, which we'll learn about in a little bit. This kind of like Associated Press for ransomware. Basically emailed it to the press. 60,000 chat logs within Conti, their HR documents, all of their salary requirements, who was employee of the month at Conti. Just a ridiculous amount of information about Conti's operations. Yes, they had an employee of the month. Yes, they had core working hours. What else did they have? They had insurance. They had time off that would be accrued. They had just a lot of really like basic business stuff. Like it felt like very much like working at any other software tech firm. They had 60 employees, core working hours. They had beer on tap. It was like a very like tech hub situation. And they also had a lot of chatter between Conti and the STP. No surprise there. Yeah, so we know a whole heck of a lot about Conti, and they had a full-on meltdown. As you can imagine all your internal chatter between your CEO and your CTO and your CFO that leaked. Like that would be a coup, and they crumbled. And this is my favorite, and the last one I'll mention. This one was just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. This is his professional profile, Ryan Goldberg. Let's see, Director, Incident Response at Signia. 15 years of experience in digital forensic, incident response, and cyber threat intelligence. He holds multiple certificates and is a forensic examiner for the U.S. Department of Defense. Sounds very. He was just picked up by the FBI for being a Black Hat affiliate.
Yeah.
So yeah, the hubris on this guy. He was the director of a incident response firm, a very highly regarded incident response firm. Spent a lot of years as a ransomware negotiator. So that point person of going in between with the ransomware folks. And between 22 and 23, him and two other people, a couple other incident responders, were affiliates and launching their own attacks. He subsequently confessed, so this is in the Schmear campaign. He was indicted, arrested, and confessed to be a ransomware affiliate. That's Mr. Goldberg right there. Cool. And you too can be a ransomware junkie like myself. It involves getting on the good old, formerly known as Twitter, UX Underground, a real big goof, a real life person, and maintains the world's largest collection of malware samples and samples of all of these ransomware code bases, as I mentioned. Also, many terabytes of pictures of cats. So if you want many terabytes of pictures of cats, that's hosted on their website. If you don't want to follow UX Underground for all the hot goss, which I don't know how it happened, but this is really only where the hot goss happens. Also, Recorded Future is another really well-respected threat intel company. They have a site called the Recorded.media. They publish a lot of really good hot goss and a lot of good cyber threat intel as well as geopolitical things, which is also like so you can follow the Record.media has a lot of great articles on ransomware and geopolitical things. So if I have any recommendation for ransomware operators, it's a few things about being trustworthy. I really, I'm at nothing but a practical person. I know that they are here to stay. There's a few guidelines that I would really appreciate that they held to. First of all, honor your negotiated ransomware payments. If you negotiate for a decryption key, give them the key. Just give it to them. Also be reasonable and open to fair negotiations. Like, not everybody's got 10 mil in the bank. Figure out something that you can both afford. Don't go extorting, don't go leaking data once you've agreed not to. Delete it like an adult. And maybe lay off the hospitals. If you laid off the hospitals, I think most people would be like, you got it. So that's all I have to say about ransomware goss, and I will take questions.
Have you considered turning your final slide into like a binding resolution that ransomware as a service people are required to sign on to?
I don't think they'd listen to me. I mean, they don't have ethics. And they're doing what they're doing, so.
Yeah, but we need ransomware ethics.
Right.
Oh, can I plug the present or the giveaway? Oh, okay.
There will be a trivia question and a prize in a few minutes. So, other questions?
Kat, alright. Obviously we are not manufacturing companies nor governmental organizations. So we are small pickings for these sorts of folks. Can you give this audience 2 things that we should absolutely be doing all the time with regard to security for our own lives?
Great question. Nice. That's a good question.
Well, see, here's the problem. You can do those 2 things and bad things can still happen. So it's about like a time benefit analysis, right? And like, live long and prosper? I don't know. I've gone full circle. I'm such a pessimist, I'm an optimist. That makes sense. Yeah.
You assume there's nothing you can do, so there's no point worrying?
How many people have actually gone to prison for ransomware?
Some. Somebody was just extradited from Ireland to Tennessee last week, a member of Conti. And Ireland picked him up somewhere else. So like sometimes, like Interpol works with the feds sometimes. I don't know the percentages, but it happens. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not a deterrent, clearly, you know.
All right, other questions?
Would you consider backups either be RAID or continuous data backups to be something that could be for the average person to do? Because at the end of the day, isn't ransomware taking the very data that is there that they somehow gain access to and hijacked it and turned it over our heads? So if they have it backed up, you can do a system reset, right?
Yeah, backups are great. There's iCloud. I think maybe reflected that people only pay 20% thing is that organizations have gotten their backup game a little bit better. That's why you see ransomware gangs moving to other forms of extortion, right? Also, they'll pull all of the corporate documents and then they'll just find out that there was actually an affair that they're covering up, and then they'll extort the that. So yes, there's like the immediate effect on availability, which companies have shown that they're getting a little bit better at with backups. But then there's just all these other ways that they're kind of like sorting them. They're double and triple, so it's a moving target. Like while there's money to be made, there's money to be made.
Is this a collective action problem? Like I've heard people say, like if everything would be better if everyone would just refuse to pay. But obviously, like some people judge for themselves, it would be better to pay than suffer the consequences.
Well, so the European Union just passed a law outlawing payments, but as you can see, I mean that's never going to happen, ever, because you have your responsibility to shareholders, right? And so, as you can see, what happened to Jaguar, like the UK government has now spent billions in emergency bailouts to prevent Jaguar from going under because they didn't have cyber insurance. So like, I honestly just look at it as a business tax. Like this is a business tax. This is just a cost of doing business tax. And we just need to minimize it, treat it as risk, and pay it for it.
As a proud St. Paulite, I just have a question. Would you care to speculate on what the fuck just happened with the city of St. Paul?
Good question.
I really wanted to include something, but I don't think it was as juicy as you might think. I really don't think so. I think they recovered okay, and I think they exploited some data and it got published on the website, and they were up decently okay. So I didn't put it on here. As juicy as you might think, yeah.
All right, give a big round of applause to Kat.